Gracie Jean is an artist from New South Wales who has released 3 singles over the past year and now has a new album, Romance is Bad, which we're going to talk about, and especially about the title, I think. Gracie Jean, hello, lovely to meet you.
Hi, Sophie. It's so lovely to meet you too.
And I've been listening to this album because we're speaking ahead of its release, and I've been lucky to have an early listen to it. And as I said to you before we started recording, I put it on in the background, but then I couldn't put it on in the background. I had to actually sit and listen to it because it was really, really captivating. But I wanted to start with the album's intriguing title, Romance is Bad. So why is romance bad?
Yeah, it's named after the title track. So the title track of the album is called Romance is Bad. And I wrote that song a couple of years ago when I ended a relationship with my first boyfriend. I think I was like 19. And it was funny. My whole childhood and my whole kind of upbringing, I think girls are really trained to believe that romance and falling in love is like the pinnacle of their lives. And all the movies that I was obsessed with, like The Little Mermaid, and I loved Tangled, and just like every Disney movie and every TV show was really all like hinged around the girl like falling in love. And that was like when she really peaked and her life got good and everything was awesome. And I got out of this relationship and I just kind of felt a little disappointed. I was like, dang, romance, like it was fine, but it didn't it didn't change my life. Like I didn't peak as a human being or have any kind of crazy, awesome experience. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of a bummer. It's kind of like finding out that Santa isn't real, really.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah. So actually, if I was being level-headed and I had hindsight, I could probably have written a song called Romance is Fine, but it's not the best thing that will ever happen to you in your whole life. But that doesn't make as good of a song title. So I was feeling a little emotional all the time. So I decided to go for Romance is Bad.
And it is a very catchy title. Let's
Thank
put it
you.
Very catchy and memorable.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you wrote that song a couple of years ago. Are there songs on the album that you wrote earlier than that?
I think actually Romance is Bad is the oldest song on the whole album. Yeah. So they're all kind of written over the past 3 or 4 years, but that one's definitely the oldest. Yeah.
Right. So are you a songwriter who you tend to collect songs or collect ideas for songs and then work on them when you have time, or do you stop and work on them as soon as they come to you?
I think I still feel like I'm a pretty new songwriter. So I don't fully know the answer to that question yet, because I'm still kind of very much learning and figuring out how I write songs. But certainly the 9 tracks on the album were a combo of both of those things. So some of them were ideas. Then I did a voice memo on my phone and then came back to it. But some of them just spilled out of me. Like I was just at home during lockdown and just would sit down and write a full song. And then it was weird. Afterwards, I'd be like, what the heck? That was weird. Where did that come from? So yeah, definitely a combo of the two. But I'm interested to see, as I mature as a songwriter and write more, what that will look like.
Well, especially as you were writing during lockdown, because obviously there were bad things about that for musicians, but if you were home during that, it did give you the opportunity to just sit and write a complete song. So I suppose that's the silver lining, maybe.
Yeah, it was certainly I kind of hated lockdown. I definitely wasn't one of those people that was super happy that it happened. And how some people were just so optimistic. They were like, wow, rest time and slowing down.
Yeah.
I was just kind of annoyed the whole time. But it was kind of a good opportunity to process a bunch of stuff that I didn't really have time to mentally process, which I think is why a lot of songwriting happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So when did you actually write your first ever song?
I wrote my first ever song in high school. I think I was in year 9 or year 8 at school, and the song was called I've Got a Crush, and it was about a crush that I had on a boy that was in the year above me.
Well, he's very lucky that you wrote a song about him, if he even knows about it.
He doesn't know about it. I don't think he'll ever know about it, but it's a very fun song. Yeah, I still really like it. Maybe I should record it or something. I don't know.
Well, especially since people can have crushes at any age. It's not like it's exclusively a high school thing.
Totally. And crushes are always like kind of the same. They're that like, you know, you're not going to do anything about it. It's just, you just know that you like that person. So I think it's still relatable, even though I'm like in my 20s now.
As I said, can happen at any age. So yes, it's
Yeah.
relatable. I think even when people
Yeah.
are much, much older than that. So you have this glorious voice. And I was reading something about, I think it was your grandfather, I believe, who identified that you had a voice in training at about the age of 5. But did you just start singing around the house? How did he come to know about your voice?
He was a musician, and he was a really, really accomplished clarinet player, and he also loved playing the saxophone. And I never really sang, like I wasn't super interested in music at all, but he was really determined that at least one of his grandkids had to be a musician. Like he just really wanted one of us. He has 6 granddaughters, no grandsons.
Right.
And so we were all visiting because it was Christmas time, and we all did, you know, the grandparents' house thing. And I think he took us all into the keyboard room, like one by one, and tested us. Like each of us had a little pitch test. And I was the only one that like he thought had a chance of being a musician. And we all, so like he played me notes, I remember, and I would match the note, and then he'd play me like a little melody, and then I'd sing it back to him. And I didn't know that not every kid can do that. But yeah, anyway, he was pretty impressed. So he said to my mum, "Oh, you should get her singing lessons." And so she did. Yeah.
I love that that's the method by which your voice was discovered, that your grandfather was determined that a grandchild would follow in his footsteps, basically.
Yeah, but he was sad because he really wanted me to be a saxophonist. He was pretty disappointed when I got really attached to singing. But he was still really like happy. He was amazing. Like when I was in high school, he would drive me to my singing lessons. And pay for them, and it was an hour each way for a half-hour lesson, and like he was so dedicated to my like musicianship. It was really cool.
How fantastic. And how did you feel about singing when you started it? Did you think, singing lessons, or did you actually think, okay, this is something that gives me joy even if I have to do these lessons?
I think I liked it because I was good at it. And I wasn't used to being good at things, and I had very low confidence, which I'm actually studying teaching now, and I'm learning all about how boys and girls and the way that they're spoken to and brought up often means that girls have really low confidence when they're young. And it was just like I started doing it, and everyone was really impressed and telling me how great I was, and I was just like, I think at first it wasn't even the music or the singing. It was just I was so happy to be good at something and happy to have people telling me I was good at something. It's probably like early warning signs that I would end up being a bit of a people pleaser when I grew up. But yeah, I think I was really encouraged, and everyone likes being encouraged. And so, yeah, really took to it because of that, I think.
Well, except the other side of it is that, you know, other children can be a little mean when one child's really great at something. Sometimes adults can be mean as well. So I'm wondering if you ran into any jealousy along the way.
Oh, yeah, I don't actually know. I think if I did, I was oblivious to it. Like, I remember getting asked to sing at school assemblies, and like getting asked to do like solos at different things, and I became like my school's designated like girl that sings at everything. Like I always do the national anthem at anything we ever did, and like people just generally were really nice to me. They were like, "Oh, you sang so well this morning." Like I think I maybe just went to really nice schools, and the kids were just really nice. It was good.
That's wonderful. I'm very pleased. Yeah. So as you developed your voice, were there particular artists who influenced you as a singer?
Yeah, I definitely think that first it was there was 2 that I listened to a lot when I was quite young, Missy Higgins and Delta Goodrem. I loved the 2 of them. Yeah. And I went with my mum to the music shop and bought Delta Goodrem, Innocent Eyes. One time we went, and the second time we went, I bought The Sound of White by Missy Higgins. I picked them out myself and loved those 2 a lot. And then also Taylor Swift was a huge Swiftie from a young age, and had the Fearless album and listened to it so much. And then I asked my dad for a guitar when I was 10 or 11, and I taught myself to play it by learning Taylor Swift songs, learning the
Yeah.
chords to Taylor Swift songs. So definitely those three were my biggest influences, I think. Yeah.
I think Taylor Swift's done a lot of good in many respects, but one is that she's inspired quite a few young women in particular to pick up guitars as well as to become singers.
Yes. It's actually so cool. Like, yeah, I think girls often are encouraged to be singers and often randomly like violin players and piano players.
Yeah.
But like, I think Taylor Swift really like showed girls that they can be like really good guitar players. It's quite cool.
Yeah. And can write
Yeah.
really good songs on guitar as part of it.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
So speaking of songs, the songs on Romance Is Bad in part are about dealing with the challenges life brings, yet I found that listening to it's a really uplifting experience and not in a way I found in which you're trying to force anything. It's not like you're going, life is great, be happy. An example, I think, is the song Overcome, which is about feeling overwhelmed, yet it's a hopeful song. Did you set out to make an uplifting album, or is that just how it turned out?
No, that's just how I'm really, really stoked that that's how you felt after listening to it. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Because I actually felt like a lot of the songs were me like writing down kind of unchecked anxious thoughts. Like, you know how you have an anxious thought that obviously like isn't really true. Like, for example, I can't get through this, or I'm not going to cope with this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of switch into like healthy adult mode and try to think of it with a bit more perspective, and you're like, no, it's going to be okay, take it one, all of those like thoughts that help you kind of put things in perspective.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the songs were like before I'd done that part of the process, and I was just feeling a little bit like, this is crap, I can't do it. So yeah, I'm really thankful that the hope that I have came through. I think that is probably why. It's just I always have hope, and so even when I'm writing a song about something that's not that great, obviously it still comes through in the songwriting, which is really cool.
Well, and possibly also it's in the delivery that you're singing the song when you're on the other side of that experience. So
yes,
the way you're recounting the story to the listener is from a position of knowing that you could get through it.
That's so true. Yeah, you don't often sit down to write a song about something that's gone on until you've got like a bit of hindsight to be able to see it for what it is or what it was. And so that's probably like what's so cathartic about songwriting really is when you're finally in a place where you can write a song about something, it's usually because you've kind of worked your way through it in some respects. Yeah.
So songwriting, as you said, it can be cathartic. I'm wondering if you also find that playing music, whether it's singing or guitar or a combination of the two, helps you deal with challenges.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's just like one of my favorite things to do, honestly. The waters got a little bit murky for a while there because I did a music degree. And so for 3 years, and so people did warn me. They were like, be careful making music your full-time study or your full-time job, because the thing that you like doing turns into something that you have to do, which can make people start to dislike it. So yeah, the 3 years I was studying music, I sometimes didn't find playing or singing very cathartic. I was just like, I have to do this. I need to practice right now.
Right.
Which I think there's a place for that, right? Like it's good. You have to learn discipline somehow. But now I'm finished my music degree, it's definitely like gone back to something that I do because I love, and because when I'm stressed or when I'm feeling big feelings, music is just such a cool way to kind of, I don't know, not process so much, but just kind of express it. Yeah.
Well, and it is great that you could get to the other side of the degree and not continue to feel like it's homework, essentially.
Yeah, I knew I would. I think I told myself that during the degree. I was like, you'll probably miss this when you finish. You'll miss music being your full-time job. So just enjoy it while you can.
So you mentioned you're studying teaching. Are you hoping to become a music teacher?
Yeah. So my undergrad was a music degree, and now I'm doing Masters of Secondary Education, and music is my major. And music's one of the few subjects where you can just do a single major. You don't have to teach 2 subjects. So yes, I'm going to be a music teacher in high schools.
Well, I remember my high school music teacher introduced us to guided relaxation. So we all loved music class because she basically started off with 5 minutes of relaxation. Then we got to listen to music.
What an icon. That's really cool.
It's great.
For some reason, that's such a quintessential like music teacher move to be like, I'm going to make the kids meditate before we listen. That's so good.
Well, it made us receptive. And then some people would complain about the fact that she was playing classical music. And I just used to think Philistines, but anyway, because I love classical music. But
Yeah.
speaking still of your music, the album was produced by Matt Wickniet, I think is how you pronounce his name. How did you come to work with him?
Matt went to my church. So when I moved to Sydney, he started going to a church in the city and he went there. I don't remember how I met him though, because it was quite a big church, but I think he was working with one of my friends. So I have a friend, Isabel Knight, and she also records and releases really awesome music. And she did a collaboration with Matt under his kind of artist name, which is Post. So he releases under this name Post, and they did like a collaboration EP. And I loved it so much, and I loved how it sounded, and I thought that the production was particularly sensitive to her songwriting. Like, I think that was what I liked about it so much, was that like her song was really complemented by the way that it was all produced. And so I just asked him, like, would you be able to engineer and produce an album for me? And yeah, he was really keen, which was really awesome. So yeah, I feel like really lucky that I was able to meet someone like him, really.
But still, I imagine it's a nervous moment when you're showing your songs to someone for the first time and saying, can you do something with them?
Yeah, it was so scary. The first time I did that, I was with two of my friends, Solomon and Rihanna, because I wasn't sure about recording or making an EP or making an album. And so I just went over to Solomon's house with my friend Rihanna, and we recorded two of my songs. And yeah, I was like really scared. It was my first time singing my songs in front of people, and doing like vocal recording and vocal takes was really, I found it really scary, because you really like, you have to listen to each take and hear your own voice like straight after you've done the delivery. It's very weird. And I remember being really scared. I was like, these people are going to think that I'm so like highly emotional and like, yeah, but they're actually both, like all three of them are also much the same as that. So they actually didn't think it was weird at all. It was good.
Now, you mentioned meeting Matt in church, and so you are a woman of faith, and I tend to find that people who have a spiritual practice when they're artists as well, there is an element of their art in which they see it, if not as service, then offering it to something greater than themselves. And I'm wondering if you feel that about your music.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, you've probably heard Christians talk about like gifts, which is kind of maybe a bit Christianese of them, like, but essentially like we believe that everything that we have is because God gave it to us. And so I think of my music or my ability to sing well as a gift. And so yeah, I think of it as like something that I use to glorify God, I suppose. And so yeah, you're definitely right. Like there's this sense in which if there's something that you're good at and that you've been given, the process of using it and sharing it with people is like a really, really cool thing to do. And so, yeah, that's definitely how I think of singing.
And I think part of that as well, which is lovely, is that it's not yours to throw away either. So there's that sense that, you know, you should do something with this and develop it. And whether you need to think of it as being in service to something else in order to do that is fine, but it's still not yours to throw away.
Totally. There's like a parable in the Bible about it's a story, like a made up story about like a businessman giving money to people while he goes away, and like he tells them, you know, take care of the money, and some of them invest it and they use it and they make more money, and some of them just bury it and don't do anything and just like give it back at the end. And he was really happy with the people that actually used what they were given, because like that's what he wanted them to do. And yeah, so you're totally right, like it's not yours, so you can't just like waste it or not use it. Yeah.
Well, I think you've used your gifts to great effect on this album. And how are you feeling ahead of the release? Because we are speaking ahead of the release.
Yes, I think it comes out on the 16th, so in 11 days. And I'm a bit scared actually. I'm just, there's a few things that need to happen before it comes out. Like, you know, the CDs need to get delivered, and it needs to actually, like, the upload to all the platforms needs to be like actually successful, like it actually needs to happen, and like there's things that could go wrong. And so I've been like really trying to hype it up and do like a countdown on my Instagram and get all my friends really excited. But then I thought, oh my gosh, it's going to be so embarrassing if like I get them all G'd up and then the day just nothing happens. But that's not going to happen. That's not a thing. It's all going to be fine. I'm really excited for people to hear it actually, and yeah, to hear what people think and how different songs impacted different people. And I'm always so interested in like what resonated with different people. So yeah, I'm really excited for everyone to listen to it.
Well, I think you should be. So the album's called Romance is Bad, but it is very, very good. And Gracie Jean, it's been lovely to talk to you.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much. It's been awesome chatting.
Thanks for your time.